You know, I've seen thousands of confirmation votes, literally, at all levels, up to and including cabinet members and Supreme Court justices in my years here. I voted for a large majority of a president's nominations, both Republican and Democratic presidents. Some where they may not have been the person I would have chosen, but I felt at least the president should be given prerogative if the person is qualified. Ideology is one thing, qualifications is another. Now, this, of those thousands of confirmation votes, I have a hard time remembering any that was like this one. You had a whirlwind confirmation hearing and committee vote. Like zip, zip, zip is almost as though they were afraid to have the nominee actually have to appear and answer questions. And now the Senate's going to vote on the nomination of Betsy Devos to lead the Department of Education. I'll be very blunt. On the very little time she was allowed to be shown to the public, she showed, and I certainly believe this, that she does not have the qualifications to uphold the Department of Education's primary goal, to have ensuring that all students, not just the wealthy, but all students, have access to a quality public education that allows them to succeed. Now, I'm both a father and a grandfather, and proud of it. But I watch my children go to school. I now see my grandchildren going to school. I understand well the impact of education on our children. When students have access to strong public education from the very beginning, they're more apt to succeed in the long run. In our nation's public schools, I know this is the case in my state of Vermont, they hold the promise of student success through strong state accountability measures and legal protections, regardless of one's race or income or learning ability. They offer nutritious meals for underserved students. Many of them receive their only meal of the day at school. Mr. President, any teacher will tell you, if you have a hungry child, you have a child that can't learn. If a child is fed, you have a child that can learn. But public education means strong teachers and school leaders, technology in the classroom, and assessments that test not just how well a student can memorize material for an exam on a particular day of the year, but on how much they've grown over the course of many months. It means the schools have counselors and nurses. They operate under a modern infrastructure that supports those with disabilities and many in foster care. But public education also means that both the states and the federal government are held accountable for everyone having access to the same excellent resources. In fact, just over 1 year ago, this body agreed with these protections. It passed the Every Student Succeeds Act here in the U.S. Senate by 85 to 12. Amazing, overwhelming bipartisan vote. It was a firm agreement among the majority of the Senate, Republicans and Democrats alike, that all students deserve access to critical public school resources. They're going to succeed. We made a promise that we'd do better by our students. The public schools would be the premier standard for outstanding education for all. And unfortunately, the nominee before us, in the very little time that she was allowed to testify and be questioned in the confirmation hearing showed she doesn't share these same goals. She's referred to public schools as a dead end. Well, if you're a billionaire, you got a choice for whatever you want to go to school. Maybe these people in a public school aren't good enough for you. Well, then go buy a school if you want. But most people don't have that option. Most people are hardworking. My wife and I were when our kids were in school. Our children are today. But what does she advocate for? She advocates for the privatization of education. She's funneled millions of dollars into organizations and initiatives that promote private school vouchers and school choice. She didn't put any of this money into improving public schools. She wanted to promote private schools. And the efforts diverted public funds toward private schools that are not held to any anti-discrimination or accountability standards. They can discriminate all they want. At her confirmation hearing, again, in the very little time she was allowed to testify publicly, it was almost like, don't let her speak. Don't let her speak because people know what she thinks, but in the very little time that she did speak, she didn't seem to understand the Individuals with Disabilities Act. It's a landmark law. It's a federal law that public schools in all 50 states must follow. And lastly, Ms. Devos and her family have contributed to anti-LGBT causes, anti-women's health efforts, which are in direct conflict with one who's supposed to lead the Department of Education. How can a nominee who disagrees with the Department of Education's mission be fit to oversee that agency and promote the civil rights of schools and college campuses? She also appears to oppose efforts to expand college access in an era when college is so important. Again, in a little bit of time she was allowed to testify for the Senate Help Committee in January. Ms. DeVos, when asked, would not agree to work with states to offer free community colleges to eligible students, instead saying that nothing in life is truly free. Again, an easy thing to say if you're a billionaire. She also admitted to knowing little about the Pell Grant program or federal student loans, as of course neither she nor her children have ever had to use such resources. Most of us know our children will have to use them. It's out of touch with the real life, kitchen table expectations of millions of students and families that rely on these funds to make college attainable. It's what I hear from families in Vermont, hardworking parents. The child's going to be the first one in their family to go to college, but they can do it because they can look to Pell Grants or federal student loans. Her attitude is, what are those? You know, college tuition rates have climbed more than 300% in the last decade. It's unacceptable to deny students federal financial resources, to say, well, if you're rich, you can have them, but otherwise, tough. As it is, students are increasingly saddled by insurmountable student loan debt. Many forego starting a family or buying a house or a car. Many of these students have also fallen prey to for-profit institutions, many of which continue to offer the false promise of gainful employment upon graduation from their for-profit school. In reality, many of these institutions offer non-transferable credits or unaccredited degrees, are increasingly shuttering their doors, leaving students with egregious debt and nowhere to turn to finish their degrees. The Department of Education has an extremely important role to ensure all students of every race, income level, or whether that student has disabilities or not, have access to the critical tools provided by public schools and by student financial aid programs. Thousands of Vermonters have called or written to me worried that Ms. Devos does not agree with these principles. And when I say thousands, put that in context. We're the second smallest state in the Union. Thousands have contacted me. I share these concerns of my fellow Vermonters. They know that my children went to public schools. They want to be able to send their children to public school too. They want the best of education. And I'm telling these Vermonters, I will not support this confirmation. It is dangerous and short-sighted to confirm someone who has so much to learn about our nation's public schools and the challenges they face. Universal, free public schools were a revolutionary American invention. It has helped make America the great nation it is today. So in the United States, we should strengthen public schools, not snub them. Ms. Devos is the wrong choice for our children, but also for our nation's future. Our public schools need strong leadership, not someone who has made her life work to undermine their success. So I oppose this nomination. I hope my fellow senators will too.